Hey everybody, it's Sam Rambo back with the Knowledge Revolution podcast. Today's Friday. I'm super excited for you guys to hop on today. We're going to try to get out videos to you every Friday, so if you like the content, please like and subscribe. We have a YouTube page as well as a Facebook page, so we're going to try to get as many followers as we can. We just want to see this thing continue to grow. Again, this is a place for you to kind of just enjoy yourself, and then it's also a time for you to stretch yourself. We're going to say some things today that you might disagree with, and you know what? You might be coming at it from a different perspective than me, and that's cool. We need to have this discourse, though. We need to be able to disagree. We need to be able to agree. But at the very least, what we want to do is change the way that we perceive the world, change the way that we see things. Because if we're always living with the same mentality, we're not really actually growing. And one of our biggest things as humans is we need to grow. We have to. If we don't grow, we're not really actually living. We're just staying the same. So we need to continue to develop and get better. Hopefully the podcast stresses you a little bit today. The topic for today is true love. Or you could also call it unconditional love, but just to keep it short, we're going to call it true love. Often we use three words to show a deep connection to another person. In healthy relationships, we usually use these words pretty often. We usually say them. These words have a myriad of reasons to be used and to have different effects on the different people that we're saying it to. At the most basic level, I love you signifies to the recipient that there's a deep connection between the two people. By and large, this is a reminder of the connection to bring back up emotions that they feel for one another. So if you say, I love you, you're trying to get them to feel why you love each other, to get that deep emotional connection, to remind them of this. But the nature of reminding somebody of something points out the ability to forget. One of our biggest fears is that the people that we love the most will forget why they love us. This is really impactful for us. We have a tendency to act out defensively in order to save ourselves. And if we are not careful, we use the very words that point to a deep connection emotionally as a use of emotional blackmail. We may from time to time point out that if you love me, then you will whatever, fill in the blank. Or when we feel them pulling away, we just throw an I love you in their way just as a last-ditch effort to give them a reason to stay. We're so consumed with them leaving us, or we're so consumed with ourselves that we use the words I love you as emotional blackmail. We use them as a reason to keep people to stay in our life. One of the problems with love is that it's hard to pin down what we mean when we say love. I break down love into three distinct groupings. These groupings are based upon how we use the word. So the three types of love that I use and I will use for the rest of the day is appreciation, affection, and attraction. And we're going to go through each one and just kind of explain it. So appreciation is a love for things, affection is a love for friends, and attraction is a romantic love for a mate. When we say the words I love, we open up ourselves to an endless variety of options of where we could go and what we're trying to say. And just to kind of keep it consistent for us today, we're gonna just group them up so that we can kind of take some more bite-sized approach at it. So appreciation is a love for things. Appreciation is another word that has a multitude of meanings, but we're going to stick to a more personalized definition for this conversation, just like with everything else. So together we're going to have to come up with a vernacular that we can use in order to understand what either is talking about. So when we say appreciation, we mean it's like a love for things, and we'll kind of go through that. Sometimes we will say the words, I love pizza, and we're not saying that we are sexually romantic towards the food that we're eating. Actually, we're just indicating that there's a level of enjoyment with the substance. We enjoy what the food tastes like. We show an appreciation for what it does for us and what it does to us. Now, when someone says that they love the Grand Canyon, we can't say that it's the same appreciation as it was with the pizza. Yes, both of them are a love of things. Yes, both of them are a love of not people, but they're not really the same. The Grand Canyon can't satisfy a bodily need for food, and we don't really receive a biological form of enjoyment. Nonetheless, there's still an emotional connection all the same, but it's not with a person. The ground level of appreciation is how does it affect me and what can it give me? Affection is what I call the love for a friend. I'm using the word friend a bit liberally here, so just bear with me. You may think that I missed a category for love. You may think, oh, well, I love my family different than I love friends, but I love family different than the way that I love a mate. And yes, you're correct. But the way that we're going to use the word friend today is, the word friend is typically viewed in terms of a peer-to-peer relationship, but we're adding in the type of a non-romantic emotional connection between people. So with that definition, we take away things and we take away non-romantic relationships. So you can add parents in there, so you can add siblings in there, you can add cousins in there. Even though they are distinct from friends, they're also distinct from romantic relationships. So we're just going to kind of bundle in friends and family together. And if you look pretty deep at it, family really is just a structured friend group. Every friendship looks different, and with the friendship of a parent, there's law involved, there's order involved, and there's structure involved. With siblings, you're kind of given friends at birth. You may not always be friendly with them, but you're kind of friends from birth if it's healthy and all that kind of stuff. We may share common interests with the people that we have affection for. It might be based upon common experiences, how we get along. Maybe they benefit us in some practical ways. So if you have a friend that's big and strong, they can help you move. And there's a bunch of different reasons why we have affection for the people that we have affection for. But the baseline for affection comes down to, how do they benefit me and what is their connection to me? How do they benefit me? They make me feel good. Maybe they can help me move, like that example that we used. What's their connection to me? If you're brother, you are my brother, or my parents, or you are my friend because of these experiences that you had with me. So it's kind of just wrapped around you. How do they benefit you, and what's their connection to you? That's kind of where affection that's like the ground level of affection. Now, attraction is the romantic love for a mate. This concept of like these different groupings of love kind of looks like a staircase a little bit. So at the base level we have appreciation. So you can have an appreciation for things as much as you can have an appreciation for people, but you can't really have an affection with a non-animate object. So you can't really have affection for a burger or something like that, right? There's no relationship to have there, but you can still have an appreciation for it. Just like you can have an appreciation for a friend, but it's deeper than that. There's going to be an affection there. But then with attraction, it is on another staircase. It's not another staircase. It's on another level. Attraction is on a different level than affection, but they kind of include each other. So if you look at affection or if you look at attraction, you're like, well, you should appreciate the person you're attracted to. You should have affection for the person you're attracted to. But you're not necessarily going to have attraction for the person that you're affectionate towards. It's really interesting because romance and attraction is one of the things in the world that is distinctly human. We do see, for an example, that penguins do mate for life, but there's no scientific evidence that there's a romance between them, especially in how humans understand and exude romance for other humans. It's one of those distinctly human abilities and traits, just kind of like conscious thought. With the attraction being distinctly human, we can also see that it's distinct from every other kind of love. Attraction is very fickle, and it's kind of hard to tie down. We can understand it, we can understand why we're attracted to people, but when it comes down to it, it's really tricky to explain it. But at the very least, attraction is based upon what you find enjoyment in, or what you find fulfillment in. Attraction is based upon you. And this thought of understanding attraction but not being able to explain attraction points out one of the greatest conundrums of the discussion today. Why can't we explain why we love the people and the things that we do? We can understand why, but we don't really truly comprehend it, and we can't really explain it. One of the most common theories about love or just affection on a general level comes from the notion of vibrations. This kind of came up in the 1960s with the hippie movement, with the true love movement. Vibration theory in a nutshell is that every living thing gives off a subsonic wave in order to communicate with a deeper level of consciousness with people. So it's kind of like soul-to-soul communication, if you will. And we feel the vibrations around us that are being exuded by other things, by other living things around us. We're attracted to what's known as good vibrations, or our soul has a particular criteria of vibrations that we're looking for, and if somebody shoots out those vibrations, we're going to find attraction or affection for them. You can, like if you walk into a restaurant, you can kind of get some vibes when you're walking in. So if it's like kind of empty and there's only a few people there and they look kind of like they hate their life, they're sending off bad vibes, right? So, you don't want any of that. When we find affection, attraction, our soul has found the person giving off those good vibes. And we don't get along with people that give off bad vibes. This doesn't tell the full story, though, because outside of the soul vibrations, there's genuine physical features that we look for in order to be attracted to a person. When these features are discovered, we still can't explain why we find that attractive. Scientists believe that human sexuality is based upon subconscious animalistic tendencies. So, for example, men subconsciously look for women with larger butts as an indicator to being able to have sexual reproductivity. Large breasts means that the offspring will be well tended for. For women, they have a subconscious tendency to look for large penises as a sign of finding a more dominant male and for protection and provision for the offspring. You can see this in the animal kingdom. That's why it's like looking at animalistic. Lion or female lions will look for the biggest, strongest male because that's who's going to protect them. They look for that to kind of protect them. So scientists look at it and they say, all of those physical indicators that we look for have animalistic roots and urges and tendencies. But it's weird because everybody has their own physical indicators, but the theory is that all of those come from a subconscious animal place, like a subconscious animalistic tendency. These theories are really an attempt to fill in the gap of understanding why we're attracted to the people that we are and to the things that we are. In reference to love, we feel completely powerless to choose who we love and whom we don't. This is beneficial for us, though, in some ways, because we're no longer to blame if it doesn't work out with somebody. And if they get hurt because we don't find them attractive, we can just blame it on vibrations. We can blame it on good vibes. We can blame it on scientific animalistic urges. If we feel ashamed about any part of ourselves of having a non-traditional partner, we're not to blame, right? You can say, hey, look, it's not my fault, it's the vibrations, it's the animalistic urges. You kind of are able to disconnect yourself from those decisions. And you talk to people and they say, oh, well, even just look at the way that we describe love. When you talk about people that have been in love forever, they just say, hey, I fell in love. Falling isn't on purpose. Falling comes from a place of accident. It's not intentional. A lot of the times we look at love, if you talk to couples, they'll say, oh yeah, I didn't think I would be attracted to this person, but I am. There's just something about them that I'm attracted to. There's just like this mysterious thing about love that you can't explain, right? You say, I don't, I hear this a lot, like, I wouldn't expect to be attracted to that, but I am. Like, there's like this mysterious thing working in the background, and it's like saying, hey, you're now attracted to. The vibrations are now saying, hey, we are choosing this. These are the vibrations we're trying to receive, and these are the vibrations that are coming in. But because it's subconscious, it's not like we can control that. It's not in our conscious mind. We can't make the decisions of what vibes we're looking for. We're not, because the animalistic tendencies are also from a place of subconscious, we can't pull them up and understand them right away. Right? We look to this place of, well, it's just somewhere out in that mystery realm. A lot of us don't want to actually figure out why we love what we love. And if you look at it realistically and you take away the super basic science hypotheses and you take away the overly ambiguous soul vibrations and look at the world objectively, we can find some pretty good nuggets of truth. So let's say one day, if you're a guy or a girl, and you see this smoking hot girl and she passes by you and you're just floored by her appearance, right? You're going to bed, you're thinking about her, you're thinking, man, she was really attractive. But the next day she passes by you and you're really not into her anymore because she's not wearing the same makeup that she wore the day before, or no makeup at all. Ask yourself, what just happened? Why was this person so attractive before, but why aren't they attractive to me now? The vibes shouldn't have changed. The animalistic behavior shouldn't have changed, right? Why did the opinion change? Why am I no longer attracted? What's going on? There's a different layer to this. Many of us, we don't actually want to figure it out, right? Because if we did figure it out, now we're accountable. The truth is kind of a red pill. You are the decision maker to who you and what you are attracted to. Yeah, now true, there is still room for unexplainable reactions, right? You might be talking to someone and you say, oh, I'm not really attracted to that, or I'm not really into that. But again, if you leave it there of this ambiguous place of, oh, I just don't feel attracted to it because, and you don't give a reason, ask yourself, am I trying to not give a reason? Or is there just a reason that I can't comprehend? Because if you're able to find out the reason, yet you don't do the due diligence of trying to figure it out, you're pointing to a fact of plausible deniability. You want to be able to say, hey, I don't know why I'm not attracted, because it takes the accountability part. You don't have to explain yourself. But if you're the sole decision maker of what you're attracted to and what you're not, there's nothing to hide behind. Our concept of love from the time that we're a child is completely centered around us, around our wants, around our likes, our dislikes, our needs. Love is centered around the giver rather than the receiver. With everything that we've been talking about so far, you should have been able to pick up on the fact that we're talking about the selfish aspect of love that we all kind of seem to find. And you might be thinking at this point in the podcast, why is he being so tough on this? Why are we being so hard on this? It's just because this is the way that we live our life. You walk around, you say, I love this, I love that, I love this person, I love that person. We use the word love so liberally and we just kind of throw it around. The topic of the podcast today is true love or unconditional love. What is the true meaning of love? What is love really? The unconditional love is the type of love that's truly horrifying because it completely takes out the element of selfishness. If you look in the Bible in 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8, it says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not self-seeking. It is not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Love never fails. Again, our concept of love that we typically use when we're walking out in the world and we're talking about what we love and who we love is completely centered around us, how people affect us, what they mean to us, what this does for me, what the benefits are, right? We are continually living in this place of selfishness when we're using the word love. Yet what we see from Scripture and what we should see from real life is love isn't about us. Love isn't selfish. Love isn't self-seeking. And even if you're not a Christian, you should be able to see this. So let me point this out to you. When I say I love this woman who I find attractive, if she stops becoming attractive to me, was I ever really attracted to her, because she was only attractive to me, my basis of attraction. There's a claim that you can make here. It's a pretty tough one. It sucks to think about. That entire time that I was telling everybody else that I loved that woman, that I found her attractive, I was actually only ever loving me. Because attraction, affection, appreciation, if those come from a selfish place, then you didn't actually have an appreciation for them. You didn't actually have an affection for them. You didn't actually have an attraction for them. What you were appreciating was you. Who you were affectionate for was based around you. What you were attracted to was based around you. This selfish love is not conducive with society. This is probably where a lot of the world's troubles come from. We have so many people walking around in their life consumed with themselves. What we try to do here on the podcast is push you towards health, and we try to push you towards what is best. One thing that I continue to say every podcast is we need to have empathy for people. We need to be community-oriented rather than self-oriented, self-interested. We need to be community-oriented. So if your concept of love and the way that you love people and things is completely selfish, what you're not going to have is empathy. What you're not going to have is a care for others. And all you'll find yourself is just that you love yourself. If you don't love your neighbor, you're not really doing anything. You're loving you. You're walking around making the world bow down to you. You need to ask yourself these questions. You need to ask yourself. You need to be tough on yourself. You can't let yourself just wriggle out of this. Right? If you let yourself just wriggle out of it, think about what you're doing. If somebody was doing something wrong to you, you wouldn't want them to get away with it. So in this moment, don't let you get away with it. And it's scary. Unconditional love is the absolute most scariest thing because there's no guarantees. If you love someone, if you truly love someone, you're giving them an open door to not love you. And guess what? If they don't love you back, that doesn't matter. If you're truly attracted to somebody, their opinion of you means nothing to you. If you're truly attracted to them, let that sink in. If you had true affection for another human being, it wouldn't depend upon what they mean to you. It wouldn't depend upon what they can do for you. That friend that can lift heavy stuff and help you move, his strength, that's not what makes you affectionate for him. There's a person inside there, not just muscles. For the men and women that you see, they're not just a pretty face. They're not just a strong body. They're not just those physical traits that we look for. They're a person. And it's scary. 1 John 4:18 says this, though. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. Perfect love drives out fear. We don't want to love unconditionally, because if we love unconditionally, what's that going to say about us? We're leaving ourselves open. We're leaving ourselves bare. What you're doing when you love somebody unconditionally is you're laying down your shields and you're laying down your walls and you're saying, it's open. I'm open. Because true love loves the person. If you only love things that love you back, you only loved you. Every other good trait that we could have in this world means nothing without love. Colossians 3:14 says, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Love is something... Okay, if you are not a Christian, you probably won't get much out of this section. but try to think about it in terms of, for the non-Christian, think about this in terms of selfishness versus selflessness. Unconditional love is going to be the only trait that you can have that's complete, that is selfless in nature. And selflessness will bring people together in a community. Rather, selfishness will drive people apart, because if you're self-interested, you're not really going to attract other people because they can see that. Rather, when you are selfless, you will attract more people, and you'll actually be able to make real change because you're not trying to benefit from it. You're trying to make the culture benefit from it. And, you can even take it as far as if you're an American and you gave American dollars to another country to be able to bail them out, if you were selfless, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care that America would be losing money to help out another country. It'd be really tempting to say, well, hey, we can't spend American dollars on other country. Again, you're not really actually loving America. The reason why you love America is because you live there. So if you say, hey, we can't give American dollars to other countries, you still are being selfish. You're not looking at the benefit of your neighbor, because America means more to you because you are in it, not because it's worth anything. Like, America's worth, and America deserves to be wealthy like every other country. It doesn't have a unique claim to be rich. It has the same claim as Burkina Faso, America's not better than everywhere else. You're just being selfish. So from the Christian perspective now, love ultimately comes from God. And, there's a discussion to be had. Did God create love, or is love just a part of God's nature? At any rate, it can only come from God. True love is centered around God. Unconditional love is one of the most powerful things in the universe because it's strong. Unconditional love says, even if you hurt me or you hate me, I'm still going to have a steadfast love. I'm still going to be there for you. My affection for you won't change. My attraction to you won't change. My appreciation for you won't change. That's powerful. But the hard thing about love is we can't really harness it. And because we're selfish creatures at nature, it's hard for us to be able to become selfless in just a blink of an eye, even though that's what's called for. That's what's demanded, right? God wants us to be selfless. He wants us to give unconditional love. It's hard. That's why we need to unravel it together. So, with conclusion to this podcast episode, ask yourself some really deep questions today. If you got anything out of it, that's awesome, but I want you to ask yourself some deep questions. Why do I love the things that I love? And ask yourself, am I being selfish with my love? Or am I actually loving? Because all those other things, affection, attraction, appreciation, all those other things, all those reasons that you're attracted to people, all those reasons why you're affectionate towards the people that you are, all those reasons why you appreciate the things that you do, none of those are selfless in nature. Those don't necessarily have love. Love is selfless, not selfish. Ask yourself, after you throw out all that other stuff, do I love people? Do I love people? Or do I love me? Thank you for listening into the podcast. I'll see you next Friday. And the tagline for next week is going to be, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm free. Thank you again for joining the podcast. This is Sam Round, your host for the Revolutionary Podcast. Have a great day.